Okay, so hello again, everybody. This is Alyssa from MIA with our next installment in our conversation series on via Skype. And I'm very happy to be sitting here with Reneltta Arluk, an actor and playwright who's fabulous. So I just wanted to ask first, when did you start acting?
I started when I was in my early 20s.
Mm-hmm. So why did you want to start then, and what made you want to become an actor?
I've actually asked myself this question, and I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure of the answer.
That's excellent.
But I know I started later because I think inside I was pretty shy.
Mm-hmm.
But I also had lots of stories inside of me, and I think partly, sometimes I think it was a little bit of a political choice in the way that all of our stories when I was like in our past a lot of them have been documented by not our own people.
Right.
And so the stories that I was being told as a child and the stories that I was hearing weren't the ones that I was reading in the books. And so I kind of stopped reading the books and started listening more to the stories. And then I realized I like telling them. And I think that's kind of where the transfer came from, taking in the stories and then telling the stories.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
and
really
then
interesting.
becoming an actor and telling other people's stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Was it difficult for you to get acting training? Were you in the Northwest Territories at that time, or were you elsewhere? I know that you went to the University of Alberta for a while.
Yes, that's where I went. I never did drama in high school or junior high school. I never even really knew what acting was or theater was. Mm-hmm. So it was something that there's this incredible theater program in Toronto called the Centre for Indigenous Theatre, and it's been around since 1976, and it was originally used as a way to heal, like people were healing through the arts, and that was something that where it began. And then when I went, it was just become a one-year acting program.
Yeah.
So I was interested in acting. I didn't know what it was really, but I knew I was attracted to it because it was all Aboriginal or all Indigenous-based teachings. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, if I like it, I will keep going, and if I don't, well, at least I hung out with a bunch of people I felt comfortable with. So
yeah, absolutely.
And so from there, I realized I loved it. I was actually born to do it. And then I did a couple years of acting in Yukon and other places. And then U of A was whispered to me in my ear. And then I applied, and I got in.
That's excellent. Yeah. You sort of answered this question a little bit, but you've been involved in a number of plays that deal with Aboriginal experience. Is it important to you to bring those stories to life on stage specifically as part of drama rather than sort of pursuing other means of storytelling like writing or something?
Yeah, I think it's very important because I had a friend of mine say that all theater is dramatic storytelling, and yeah, I know. I carry that with me, and so when I look at theater, I think it's such a wonderful exchange of energy between the person who's telling the story and the people that are listening, and it's like painting. I find that storytelling in theater is like painting. You're painting an image that the audience is imagining and creating in their own minds, and that's where the beauty exchange is for me, and it's very satisfying. And I find that that's kind of where I still pursue. That's where my love is. That's still where my passion lies, rather than, film and television, which is, it's its own beauty for sure. But I still love the live exchange with audience and performers. I love being an audience member, and I love being the performer.
Yeah, that's great. Last spring, I saw you here in Toronto as part of Human Cargo's night at the Factory Theatre.
Right.
It was incredibly moving to me, and it was also, I thought, a really great opportunity for people in Toronto to hear Inuktitut spoken on stage, which is so kind of rare here in this city. Has performing a night been an important experience for you?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it has. I think it's one of those shows in your life that you're like, you know what, this is meant for you, and not so much like this role is meant for you, but this experience is meant for you. Like I'm originally from the Northwest Territories. I'm the Inuvialuit from the Inuvik region, and this is a story that's based in Pond Inlet, Nunavut. So the dialect is like very different, and so it actually I had to memorize it rather than like I memorized that language.
Nice.
And just we got to go to Pond Inlet. We performed there. We performed it in Haruit, and it's a show. The experience of doing the show and the experience that the show has given me is it's greatly affected me personally, and the Inuit community is so in tune with each other, and we don't know no boundaries. Like we just know the people, and I really got that. It was really beautiful to experience that, and to do in Toronto was kind of mind blowing, and the response was just so positive, and the community, the Aboriginal community was so supportive of it as well, and very glad to have done it there.
So, was it different for you performing that show in Nunavut as it would have been in Southern Canada, just based on the audience?
Absolutely. I'm very glad, and I'm very glad we performed it in Pond Inlet and Iqaluit first before we went to Toronto, because I just find it so important that if you're going to tell a story about a community, that community has to have heard that story. They have to have seen it, and in some ways it kind of gives you, it either gives you permission or it makes you double check what you're doing, and it gives you. It's not credibility. It's almost like integrity. It's the integrity of being a storyteller. And when we performed there, it wasn't all 100% great, and it wasn't all 100% bad. The concerns and the not concerns, but the words that people shared is what you take with you.
Yep.
So to go to Toronto, it just gave me that. It gave me almost permission. And it's like whether the audience in Toronto likes it or not, it doesn't really matter, because I performed it for the community itself, and I carried that with me, and that's more important for me.
Yeah, it's funny, we sort of run into a bit of a similar situation here, because we're based in Toronto, but we represent, artworks from all across the Arctic. And so it is really important for us, too, to get our work and our publication and our scholarship back into the communities to make sure that we're portraying people accurately and sensitively and in a way that we can be proud of, and so can everybody else. So I definitely understand where you're coming from with that, for sure. Now, I had read that I think you had said once in an interview about the play that this had been a way for you to kind of reconnect with your Inuit and Inuvialuit heritage. Is that right?
Yes. I was raised by my mother, a single mother, and she's the Dene side of me, right? So I'm half Dene and half Inuit, and I never really had the opportunity to grow up with my Inuit culture because I had no father, like the absence of father.
Right.
I still have connection with my aunts and uncles, like his brothers and sisters, and so that's always been a part of me. But to really dive in and explore, I haven't had the. I'm more aware of the Dene side of growing up, the spirituality, the belief system and connection. And so to go to the north, it honestly felt like a part of me healed in some sort of way. That's what I mean with the no boundaries and all encompassing. It was just like, I'm Inuit. That's it. And that was just kind of all I really needed, I guess. But it made me feel very good, and it was like. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Well, you can't get much better than that, ultimately.
Oh my goodness, funny.
That's wonderful. So you've also founded a theater group. Is that right?
Yes, Arluk is Arluk Theater. My great-grandmother was Alice Simon, and she was from the Klavic-Inuvik region, and she named me when I was just a little baby, and it's the little berries that are on the islands, Arluk. And so I thought, well, you know, I'm creating this theater company because I think it's very important that our stories be told, and now I think it's beyond me. I don't need to be the only one to do this. I think other people should be doing this too, and maybe they don't know where to go, so I'm going to create a little theater company for people to, if they're looking for support, if they're looking for just an ear, or they want to bounce ideas off, then it's kind of a way for them to go, oh, this is a northern-based company, the work that she's doing is northern-based, and I would like to explore this. And so I'm kind of just created this little company so that our work can be done up here without our voice getting lost, I guess.
Yeah, and is that difficult to put on performances up there, or have you found that it's gotten easier?
It's gotten a bit easier. Like I am kind of breaking a little bit of trail, but it is like the community support is actually what's been really fantastic. You know, I've produced 2 shows, Chumit, which is my little one-woman show, and another one is a radio drama adapted by Richard Van Camp called I Count Myself Among Them. And both of those we've done in Yellowknife, and both the audience turnout for those have been super fantastic. And so I know that there's an ear for it, so I'm going to keep working on it.
Yeah, and speaking of Tumit, you wrote and starred in that, right?
Yeah. Well, this is the beginning of the stories that are within you, right? This is it's my little one-woman show, multiple characters, and I started writing it about 5 years ago, and I think about 3 years where I was still like just writing little one-lines or little scenes and stuff, and then I found a dramaturg who was from Yellowknife, and he dramaturged it with me and actually just ripped it apart. So it wasn't even my story anymore. It became something else, which is what it needs to do.
Sure.
And then I hired a director from Edmonton, but I brought her to Yellowknife, and we produced it up there and directed it up there and performed it up there.
Have you performed it elsewhere?
Yeah, we did it in Edmonton a couple years ago at the Canoe Festival, which is an international festival. So we were doing shows along companies from Germany, from trying to think of there's other countries that were there, but it was like this really incredible little festival in Edmonton. And now I'm looking at having it go somewhere else, but I don't want to say in case it doesn't go there. So
is Toronto on the list? That's really what I want to know. So.
Not yet.
Well, we're going to have to make that happen.
Yes.
Yes.